PayPal is holding Rippaverse funds. And basically what's going on here is he made $3 million in less than, 2 weeks or something?
I was confused on that because I know we covered when he reached the million milestone, but when he was recording his screen in this video he posted about this situation, there was only like something over $1 million being held by PayPal.
Because not all of the stuff is coming from PayPal. Other people can do credit card directly. He said about 30% of the funds that he's raised have been through PayPal.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So he's raised, so it says, when you fight the system fights back. In a video made earlier tonight, Eric July told his supporters that PayPal flagged the Rippaverse account because of claims that the huge and sudden influx of money placing funds on hold. So I guess the idea being that it's a new company out of nowhere. And they just are making this because they can't verify that it's real. But any cursory search of like his profile and everything would be able to tell them that. So it reeks of, to me,
and the fact that he's been on the phone with them
over and over
all week
plus,
and they're still not cooperating with him. I don't know what they think is going to come of that. No one just loses over $1 million and is like, meh, okay, I'll give up.
And he made a good point in the video. If you watch the video that he's talking about, he says nobody that actually can make decisions is the person you're going to get to on the phone. You're never going to actually talk to a person that can help you. It's actually designed completely the opposite.
Yeah.
And it does to me. And they do point out that he points out that these are two companies that have frozen accounts of creators before. They work with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League, who are hilariously partisan these days, or in the vein of pretending to be nonpartisan, are very partisan.
And not just partisan, but they leverage the credibility of like their names for pressuring companies into making the decisions they want them to. I mean, they do that to social media accounts all the time.
And them, along with banks, have frozen funds from political groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a different issue than something like PayPal.
Yeah, this, I think it's more like if I was to be charitable and thought it was just because, like, look, it's a new company, maybe the vast bureaucracy of the organization of PayPal, of the way it's set up, is to deter this type of stuff from happening. Do I actually believe that's what's happening? No, I do not. I believe that it's absolutely the idea is, like you said, do they expect to just give up, or did they just not know ahead of time that basically when he made this campaign, he built out the infrastructure for this movement, for this company beforehand, so he has all the product. He just did it as a pre-order. But if he didn't have that, if he hadn't already purchased if the comics hadn't already been printed, the posters hadn't already been printed, if he didn't have the financial backing beforehand, he'd be out of luck, because that's $1 million that he would have needed to fulfill orders to make the actual process happen. And that's evil for a company to be able to just be the middleman and say, no, it's not like they refunded the money.
So he produced all of this product out of his own pocket,
or money he's saved
far
from his I don't know how he raised that money beforehand. I know that he's done very well for himself on YouTube, as well as his band is. I know his band is successful. He contributes to the Blaze. I'm sure that there's financial incentives on all levels, and he's been very, very heartfelt in how much this means to him to provide a parallel economy, an alternative to what the mainstream comic book industry is providing. And his is one of the most professional examples of, it's not even crowdfunding. He's just started a company. Thank you. He's just started a company, and I always say thank you. I can't help it. It feels weird to ignore it. Like if you don't, right? It feels weird to ignore it. So to me, it's just sad to see that these companies, like, imagine if he didn't have that infrastructure built up. He'd be out of luck. And these people would be like, where's our, then he's on a timetable. He's on a clock.
Being the world-renowned legendary Giga Chad that I am, I have worked in financial institutions before. And I know, like, as a fact, that pretty much every transaction, once it passes over like the 10,000 threshold, it gets like monitored like immediately.
Well, yeah, like but individual transactions of 10,000 or more, right, are flagged.
So that's That's like the law as it's written. But I believe that, let's say one day I deposit 6,500 and like I wait 2 days and then deposit 3,500 and then I keep doing that. Well, that starts like triggering
a pattern,
right? And so I wonder if there's something he could have done that to be like to notify PayPal and be like, hey, I freaking rule and like I'm gonna get hella money. But
could he have even predicted this level of success? I mean, I don't know.
I think so. I mean, at least I'm sure he expected hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what he said basically is like, you should not. Do not file. What did he say? He said, "Do not file."
He said he repeated this over and over in his YouTube video.
A dispute.
You shouldn't, like, if you purchase something, you should not go and file a dispute against him, because then that just incriminates him in the eyes of PayPal, and then they're like, well, this is your problem to solve.
Yeah,
that's
not
crazy.
Ours. Yeah, and but regardless, if people are spending their money and not receiving what they thought they were going to receive back, they're going to file a dispute because they think they're filing it against PayPal, not against Eric July. So then when I was watching the video, I guess I was half joking, but also like, this is very much a real possibility that people are going to clip his video and show him saying like, file a dispute against PayPal, or
absolutely
file a dispute. Make sure you file a dispute. I feel like some people who hate him and hate Rippaverse and what he's doing in the fan base might try to manipulate what he said.
Seems so cool.
There were some like hilarious comments, like pushback against him that like I didn't even want to. They were so racist against him that I didn't even want to pull them up, because they were just, the stuff people were saying was just freaking awful. It just proves to you that they don't actually. care.
The first time we talked about Rippaverse, and I had just like acquainted myself with this, I still didn't understand why people were mad, other than the vague affiliation with hate groups, which is like, where's the proof?
They're never, they just, they state it as a fact, and then that's the fact.
What's the hate group in question?
I understand that like, if you're biased and you don't like that this guy has contributed for the Blaze, that's a very partisan company. Okay, fine. But what does that have to do with the comic?
It doesn't. It's just that comics has become a battleground for political affiliation to a lot of people. So whether they're talking about the groups like Comicsgate, and I don't even like I paid attention to a lot of like the comics channels. I still do, but because I'm not super acquainted with them now and I'm not following them as closely, I don't want to speak on most of it. But basically, like, it's similar to Gamergate, like customer, like movements about journalists, like gaming journalist ethics and stuff like that, were a big part of it early on. We don't need to get in. That's beyond what PayPal is doing here. But the same stuff happened with Kickstarter. They had Chloe Zhao, not Chloe Zhao, a comics czar whose job it was to literally decide whether you were allowed to have a comic on their platform or not. And certain ones were allowed and certain ones weren't, and they tended to bend certain ways depending on who your affiliations were with, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments might know. I thought it was Chloe Zhao, but it might be Chloe Zhang that ran that section of Kickstarter, but she's gone now.
Unrelated to just the comic book industry, I know every payment processor at this point, like Zelle, Cash App, GoFundMe, like all of these fundraising websites, they all have been guilty of kicking people off their platform or freezing money before. So
they did that to what's his name, Rittenhouse.
I mean, they've done it for all sorts of situations. But then people were like blaming Eric July for picking PayPal to do this, when it's like, you're literally selling just an entertainment medium, and why would you expect to have this much money seized from you over something as innocuous as that?
And what this is going to affect the most, he said, he's like, you're still going to get your books now. All that stuff's been done and is ready to go out. But what it affects is his ability to use that money to reinvest in the company onto the next project. Like, whatever that next issue, that next project for Rippaverse Comics would be, this slows that process down considerably.
Yeah.
All because because PayPal has a bone to pick with someone who, in their opinion, believes that it might have to do with where he sits politically. I don't know what that is. Without an official statement, I can't speak to that. I did find an article that talks about like reasons why PayPal might limit your account. This was just somebody who had horror story after horror story of people talking about.
Yeah, it happens to
being,
ordinary people who aren't public figures too.
Yep.
But then they tried to turn it around on him and say, it's because you didn't read our pre-order policy. When it was known on his website, it was made known to anyone purchasing it beforehand that it was a pre-order. So
So some of the reasons given, it says you've received an abnormally large amount of money in your account that is way above your average. That's why he talked about they did well out of the gate, so maybe that's why it was flagged. Someone has filed a complaint about your business. Everyone knows that losers on the internet would absolutely do something like that.
They coordinate to to file disputes, to mass block people, to mass report people on social media all the time.
Dude, it like takes two motivated people. Like it doesn't even really take that many people.
Yep. So it's just sad to see like this level of effort going into somebody to make something different. Anytime something like this happens, if you complain about something that's going on in one of these industries, whether it's comics, whether it's Twitter, whether it's movies, they say, well, remember everyone's like, well, you don't like Twitter, make your own Twitter. And then Parler gets their servers shut down or whatever by Amazon. Like anytime you go and try to do your own thing, they then try to stop you from doing your own thing.
Exactly. And then it's just like, make your own internet.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we're always talking about why can't they just make new IPs? Why is everything derivative? Everything is a sequel, everything's a prequel or a spin-off or whatever. But then when someone actually tries to do something original and independently as well, this is what happens.
Yep.
So we're at this like catch-22.
It's they want to trap you and make you and then gaslight you into thinking you just didn't have, like, you could have done it yourself.
Yeah, you did it wrong. Or
yeah, and that's gaslighting. That's evil as far as I'm concerned. So I really hope that it gets, like, I kept an eye on it. If there was an update since then, I didn't see it earlier today, but my hope is that I was deciding whether we were going to cover this or not. Like I would have normally have brought this up probably in Podluck down the line, but I think that any attention being drawn to this to put pressure on PayPal to release those funds and not be evil, as one might say, is a good thing.
Someone said he spent an initial $200K in advance. His original goal was $1 million for the whole campaign. He'll now have to spend $1 million to supply everyone, so he's going to make at least $1 million after expenses.
And that's he talked about. Most of it will all be reinvested into the back into the company so that he can continue to make more work. I don't.
Do you think it will actually end up being resolved?
I think it will. I'm going to keep a close eye on this, at least as far as his posts about it.
They kind of back you into a corner to make a public fuss about it when you can't handle it privately. He's been trying to do.
Like, imagine like you're just like a person who just doesn't handle conflict well, and you're like, now you have to sit on the phone for 15 hours a day, for 15, every 15 minutes you get sent to a new person, and they're giving you the runaround, Luckily, he is hopefully a confrontational person. It's like, look, I need to speak to this person. And he said it's been going on for over a week. So that's insane.
That's the terrifying thing about this, because like when it gets to like a financial level, it's like it says like $1.2 million.
It's like 1,216,000 or something like that.
But literally, I'm sure like PayPal gets a cut, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like just for like solvency of the company, and so like they can have their nice little check. Like you think that it'd be a priority for them?
But does hold mean that they get to just keep it eventually? You know what I mean? Like no way. There's a difference here. They didn't charge these back to people. They held it and didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be one thing if they're like, this looks fraudulent, we're charging all of these cards back. They didn't do that. Even that could work. Like, if you really think about, okay, if you're looking for a basic reason to a way to slow down someone's growth and progress, just make it really difficult for them to fulfill their promise, right? So he gets $1 million. They say, we think it's fraudulent. We charged everyone back. How many of that $1 million do you think is actually coming back your way once you inform people that it was an error? Not all $1 million of that is going to come back. No way. Half that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have faith that they'll resolve it, but only because he's going to make a public stink about it. And that's the only way that you can get justice at this point.
And he's got a platform that's like he's got a 490K.
But it's like, unless you have a platform, there's no hope for you.
And that is like Tim talks about that. Like talks about how like people on Twitter, like well-known people on Twitter have an advantage because they can raise a fuss with companies, right?
That's why I really wish I knew that pre-order policy that you stated, because like I feel like that could be the key. Because like as I was saying earlier, like if you think that like financially it'll get above like the level of like 10,000, like let's say for example, like with your personal finances that you're going to buy a car, and the car, let's say you have it cash and the car amount exceeds like $10,000 or $10,000 exactly, or even approximates it. Like, in order to have like your finances not frozen and for the transaction to go in, like you should notify the financial institution. And I think like a guy like him would definitely have the wherewithal to like know that and to like notify them. So I'm really wondering like what was like the point where like none of this, like where I don't know, where they lost it, where they're like, no, sorry, we don't care.
There's a great meme of somebody who posts like, it's like a repost of a Twitter post where it says like, I bought a gym membership in my bank account and my bank flagged it as
suspicious activity.
Thus proving that I would never go to the gym.
Dude, that happened to me with my Puerto Rico trip. He was like, nah, this guy's like a joyless bastard. There's no way he's going to get out to a trip.
You're not going out to do stuff with your life.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it. You go to work it's like, you know, your bank knows your habits as well as Facebook. You know, he goes to work, he buys his gas at this gas station on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's like the amount of power these financial institutions have now is insane, which is why Tim got off of PayPal, right? He's on parallel economy now, and maybe that's what we have to do. You have to literally build your own platform in place to do this stuff, right down to how the money is transacted from one person to another. But even then, your bank isn't necessarily safe.
No, yeah, it's the payment processors, the banks, social media giants, and nonprofits that are all in lockstep with each other to make sure that you wouldn't do something so heinous as to publish a comic book.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so...
It sounds insane.
Like, it's apolitical AF, and it's like, yeah, well, the creator isn't. Yeah. So...
and basically the idea here is that...
Like, non-liberal people don't have a right to work? Like, is that what's the inference that we're supposed to be led by?
Not even, no, you have the right to work, you just don't have a right to make any money doing it.
Got it.
You're just not allowed to do that. There's some super chats there.
Yeah. Halls and the Kids said, NYC peeps, keep an eye out for Brett and Mary in Times Square. And if you'd be so kind, take a pic and tag them on social media for the Timcast crew.
We actually have a screenshot of one of them here.
We do.
We do. If you look in the middle to the right.
Love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
You see that?
But if any of you see it in person, we would love to see a picture.
That is
tag us.
That's the best of the photos too. It's very inviting. Hopefully there's people watching now that
coming
saw that.
Soon to a billboard near you in Middle America. No.
that would be cool too.
I mean, it would be, yeah.
So the cows would enjoy.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.